man named Glenn Arias. He took over New Umbrella and Tri-Cell's operations. He's a merchant of death.
The wonderful thing about my products is that they know the difference between ally and enemy.
And it's our mission to bring his ass down, not mine. God damn it!
Stop!
Rebecca! He's gonna use the trigger virus on New York?
Time starts now. I want revenge.
Chris Redfield is sent to the Mexican state of Querétaro to apprehend bioweapons black market dealer Glenn Arias and to rescue a pair of hostages, being BSAA agent Kathy White and her son Zach. Upon arriving to the location, the squad splits up into 3 main teams and begins their search of the mansion. One team is attacked and infected by a zombified Zach when they let their guard down. Chris's team hears the commotion and quickly heads to the area. However, one of the soldiers is quickly dragged under the bed and devoured, while another is bitten by Zach and forced to be eliminated by Chris when she transforms into a zombie. Elsewhere in the mansion, the squad captain becomes concerned at the loss of radio contact with his men and calls for their helicopter to return so they can evacuate the building. Right after, a nightmarish zombie appears in the room and begins to rip the captain apart. He then orders the 2 remaining soldiers to escape through a door. However, they are torn apart by wires set up as a booby trap. Chris, being the last man standing, escapes the building by jumping out of a nearby window, where he is then confronted by Arias and forced into a confrontation. In the end, Arias prevails as the victor once he knocks Chris down with gunfire, and he begins to reveal that his newly designed virus allows the infected to distinguish between friend and foe. He then introduces one of his test subjects, who is revealed to be the captive they came here for, Kathy White. Arias sends Kathy and other zombies after Chris, but before they could reach him, the army helicopter arrives and blows the place to smithereens. With Kathy dead from the gunfire, Chris holds her in his arms one final time while letting out a defeated yell. 4 months later, Rebecca Chambers is working with her assistant Aaron to create a functional vaccine for a new virus spreading across the Great Lakes. In the search for the cure, many experiments have already been run, and Aaron announces the delivery of over 30 infected bodies to help in the vaccine synthesis. Rebecca sends Aaron to personally obtain samples from the bodies, and after he leaves, one of the experiments on the computer system is registered as a success in developing a vaccine. As Aaron heads down to the morgue, he spots an open vent, and as he begins to investigate, Arias' bodyguard Maria suddenly knocks him out. The laboratory's main power is then cut, resulting in it going into a lockdown state, with the shutters going down. During this, Maria releases an airborne form of the virus into the ventilation system, causing the entire laboratory staff to become infected and transform into zombies. Rebecca, however, manages to fight the infection and head to the vaccine synthesis room, where she then injects herself with a new vaccine and just in time to prevent her turning. Rebecca then leaves the room and finds Aaron devouring a body on the floor. When he notices her, Rebecca begins to fight for her life and ultimately resorts to beating him with a fire extinguisher. She then flees to go hide in her lab as more zombies begin to follow her. Once another zombie appears, she is forced to defend herself again by stabbing the creature with a pair of scissors. Maria then blows up the vaccine synthesis room right before Chris and his BSAA team arrive to rescue Rebecca. Sometime later, at a nearby hotel, Rebecca watches news of recent viral outbreaks and adds the incidents to a map of North America as she struggles to find a pattern. Chris then enters the room and explains his need to find Arius. Because Arius' bodyguard infiltrated her lab, Chris suspects Rebecca's new vaccine will soon be useless, as Arius will no doubt modify his bioweapon to no longer be affected by it. Rebecca then reveals that the new virus's genome is very similar to the plaga used by Los Illuminados in 2004, and the two then head out to meet up with Leon due to his prior experience with these enemies. Arriving at a bar in Colorado, the two agents find him to be drunk and uncooperative. Having lost his entire squad to a bombing in Washington, D.C., Leon has grown tired of his job and decides that he wants no part in the fight. Chris tries to convince him otherwise, explaining how Arius is a major arms dealer on the black market that quickly became a target to the government. This ultimately led to the loss of his wife and those closest to him when the government launched a bombing at his wedding. Being the only survivor, he went into hiding for many years, but has now come back with his own bioweapons ready to get his revenge. Leon still has no interest, claiming both the government and Arius to be at fault. This sparks a heated argument between Chris and Leon, which is quickly stopped by Rebecca, who warns them that Arius' virus is within everyone and is lying dormant until something triggers the transformation. During the conversation at the restaurant, the three are being spied on by Arius, who orders his bodyguard Maria to apprehend Rebecca and eliminate the others. When Rebecca heads to the restroom, she notices blood leaking out from under a cubicle. Upon closer examination, she finds a young woman dead inside and is suddenly grabbed by Maria from behind. During this, a man named Patricio runs in and is instantly attacked by Leon and blamed for being responsible for the death of his unit. Patricio warns him that his wife and daughter have been taken hostage in Spain by an arms dealer, and that the surviving members of Los Illuminados are working with him to create a bioweapon that will decimate the United States. Just then, a van turns up full of soldiers in black armor. Arius' bodyguard Diego follows with a Gatling gun and attacks the restaurant, killing the restaurant worker instantly and seriously injuring Patricio, who ultimately bleeds out. The hostiles then escape the area with Rebecca, as Chris is unable to reach them in time. Sometime later, Rebecca wakes up in an unknown facility, wearing a wedding dress. Arius eventually enters the room and reveals that the various boxes on chairs contain what is left of his friends and family, who he partially revived thanks to his new virus. Rebecca then reveals her research to him, explaining how she believes there are 3 strains to the virus. The first infects the host, the second acts as a trigger, and the third gives Arius the option of choosing who his target will be, which acts as a vaccination virus. Arius confirms all of this and proceeds to propose to Rebecca, as she is revealed to share a resemblance to his dead wife Sarah. After angrily refusing, Rebecca is sent away into a nearby lab and infected with Arius' new virus. Meanwhile, Leon and Chris are looking through Rebecca's laptop for any information that will point to where she was taken. After inserting the SD card from Patricio's phone into the laptop, the agents find that Arius' agents have assisted in the selling of the AGUAG brand mineral water in New York, which contains the latent virus. Once the brand becomes popular enough, the trigger will be released, ensuring maximized spread of the virus. After further digging, the pair also discover Arius' contingency plan to have his own vaccine dispersed over New York to cure the infected hosts and return them control of their bodies. Elsewhere, Arius calls for the attack to happen immediately across the Great Lakes, and the mineral water trucks begin to drive around New York and disperse the trigger into the streets, transforming all drinkers of their water into zombies. With so many becoming infected, the New York Police Department is quickly overwhelmed by the creatures, and the streets quickly turn into chaos. During the ongoing destruction of the city, the agents finally arrive and split up into groups to look for the tankers. After spotting one of the vehicles, Leon throws a grenade and successfully destroys it. This causes Arius' agents to take notice of the attack and investigate. However, they are quickly taken out by the BSAA. Suddenly, Soldier Damien is attacked and killed by zombie dogs kept in the back of their van for security. Leon opts to distract the zombie dogs from Chris and has them chase him on the motorcycle into a highway, giving Chris the opportunity to locate Arius' lab and begin his search of Rebecca. During this, he is met by dozens of zombies and forced into an intense battle. Leon arrives shortly after in his motorcycle, and the two team up to take out all nearby enemies and press on deeper into the lab. Chris eventually finds the room Rebecca is being held in, but is quickly ambushed by Arius' bodyguard Diego and knocked to the ground from the creature's immense strength. However, with the use of an incendiary grenade, Chris manages to halt the creature, and he proceeds to hold the doctor at gunpoint, demanding him to reveal the location of the vaccine. This leads the pair to the top of the building, where they are met by Arius and forced into a firefight. Chris sneaks around and begins an intense close quarters combat battle against Arius, which ultimately ends with Arius being thrown through a glass panel and falling to the bottom of the building. However, Diego finds him shortly after still alive, and is ordered to release the final stage of his infection. Diego then mutates further and infects Arius, and they both soon merge to become a new tyrant-like creature, with Arius still able to retain his intellect in spite of his transformation. Before Chris and Rebecca can escape, the creature arrives to the top of the building and commences another fierce battle between the two. Just as Chris is about to be strangled to death, Leon arrives just in time to aid him and distract Arius. Chris then leaves to try and find the vaccine, while the BSAA come to Leon's aid and provide cover fire. Angered, Arius jumps onto the helicopter and injures one of the soldiers with his retractable claws. While the creature is distracted, Leon gets on his motorcycle and drives it straight towards Arius, jumping off just before it rams into the creature and explodes. Chris then returns and launches a grenade directly at Arius' heart, finally defeating the creature for good. Rebecca is then treated with the inactive form of the virus and manages to make a full recovery from the infection. The agents then fly off in the plane and disperse the inactive virus on the ground below to completely cure the city, finally completing their mission. Shortly after, Maria is revealed to have survived and becomes filled with rage after finding the mask of Diego.